Hey there, guys. My name's Dee Dee, and tonight I'm getting fucked up. Boat, rod, jets, kite. Let's talk about some shit. Yeah! As you may be aware, my name's Dee Dee. Just so you know, it's not technically St. Patrick's Day, but in my book, St. Patrick's Day is from the end of Valentine's Day to the end of March, which means I'm going to be wearing green, I'm going to be fucking leprechauns, and I might say some racial slurs that don't make any sense because I don't know Irish racial slurs. Today is a very special episode because, first of all, I am moderately intoxicated, as you might notice here, and as you might notice here. The big thing I should mention about this episode is that I plan on getting more intoxicated throughout the whole thing. You're going to notice me stumble on my words. You're going to notice me kind of drift off and not finish my thoughts. Hopefully that's appealing. If not, I enjoy being drunk, so go fuck yourselves. Today I was asked to talk about some of my misadventures in Mexico. Let me say right off the bat that I get for some of you, Mexico is a fantastic wonderland of inebriation and Mexican females who don't understand English well enough to realize that you aren't a rich American and that you're just going to nail them in a Mexican bar room and then get the fuck out of there. That has not been my experience with Mexico at all, so I'm going to tell you guys some of the reasons I don't even hate Mexico. I am terrified of Mexico, and this was long before all the other things where, you know, guys were cutting off people's heads and drug cartels took control. No, I have far different reasons to be afraid of Mexico. Let me tell you the first reason I'm afraid of Mexico. First reason I'm afraid of Mexico, if you go to Mexico and you are a gringo who does not speak Spanish and does not know how to interact between a language barrier, you want a good Mexico buddy. You want someone who is going to have your back throughout the entire being in Mexico process. I don't have one of those. My Mexico buddy is someone who speaks Spanish and understands Mexico and knows how to manipulate that to make sure that his gringo friend totally is on the receiving end of nonsensicalness. To explain on this story, let me go back a little bit. I had been to Mexico a few times, and I hadn't had a bad time there, but I hadn't really done anything in Mexico. I'd gone there, I'd visited a bar or two, I'd had some fun times, but it hadn't been anything noteworthy. It had just been, I went there, I had a fun time, and I left. Then my buddy tells me, hey, you know what? You need to see the awesome side of Mexico. You need to see the part of Mexico that is fucking amazing. I'm like, yeah, dude, I would love to see fucking amazing Mexico. So he takes me down, and he shows me all these dive bars, and he goes ahead and gets me really fucked up, and we're having an awesome time. We're crashing in fucking hotels that we don't pay for, and they can't find us because they can't prove that we were ever even there. It was awesome, and I'm having a fun time. And he kept bringing me to all these parties, and what he would do is he would take me to like these bars or these parties where I didn't really know anyone, but everyone was really impressed because of the gringo that could do this. Boat, rock, yes, kite! Totally a winning trick for anyone who enjoys drinking. So I'm having an awesome time. I'm having fun. Meanwhile, he was gambling, or in his words, playing cards with low stakes. The stakes were not as low as he made me believe they were. In fact, the stakes were quite high. He apparently owed well around $5 grand American. Guess what $5 grand American is if you're playing against I don't want to say the cartel. Probably wasn't. It's just the gringo white guy me that any Mexican gangster is part of the cartel. Probably just, you know, regular Mexican gangsters, but he's playing with them. He owed them about $5 grand. He tells me, hey, go stand over by those guys while I'm playing cards. It's my good luck charm. What it actually was is he said, hey, if I lose this next hand of cards, here's a white guy that you could probably ransom off for twice of what I owe you. And I, being the oblivious drunkard that I clearly am, was like, oh yeah, sweet, I'm just going to go ahead and stand over here. You guys all seem like cool guys. None of them seemed like cool guys. All all of them seemed like terrifying, murderous guys, which all of them probably were. Having said that, I just was standing there. I'm having a good time. He goes ahead. He lays down his cards. The guy he's playing lays down his cards. Abel looks at me. I probably shouldn't have said his name. But, okay, fuck you, Abel. You're a dick and you know it. Abel looks at me, makes dead eye contact, and he's like, hey, Dee Dee, you're going to have to go hang out with these guys now. And I'm like, what? And he's like, don't worry, they're going to take you to a party. My still very, very, very drunken self is like, oh, sweet. They're going to take me where there's more alcohol. That's going to be awesome, right? Why not? Get into the car with him, and I start driving. All right? They start driving. I'm in the back seat, and none of them speak Spanish. And then finally, none of them speak English. All of them spoke Spanish, obviously. Duh. Again, drunk. I can't say words right. I start to realize this is kind of an ominous vibe. I don't think that these guys have my best intention in heart. Then I find out, because one of them speaks enough English to start asking me questions about where I'm from, how much money my family makes, things like that. And I realize, oh, me, dude. And I would have been way more freaked out, but this isn't the first time he's done this shit to me. Sacrificed me to a coven of witches. I might make a video about it later. So I'm like, oh, dude, I am fucked. And I didn't necessarily sober up, but it's like one of those things where you're so scared that the alcohol makes you feel sober. And I say to them, I say to the one guy, because I've been talking to these guys and having fun with them all night. I thought they were cool guys. I said to the guy who Abel lost to, is like, wait, bro, wait. Let me just lay this one on the table. What if I can beat you in a drinking game, I get to go? He had no reason to agree to this, but I think he just thought it would be funny to beat me even more, because if he wins, sure, they could shoot me, but I'm no use to them dead. And what's more, this way, he could also prove that I'm a little punk-ass bitch gringo, which I think was a huge ego trip for him. Admittedly, he didn't seem to be particularly fond of white people. So he's like, alright, fine. He knew he could beat me because that motherfucker was cooked sober as shit, and I was bombed. Like, bombed. I have no idea how much I drank. Probably enough to kill a rhinoceros. Which isn't that much, actually. Rhinoceroses shouldn't be drinking alcohol. They don't have really well-developed livers. But the metaphor sounds like a lot. So I'm like, oh, dude, I am so going to lose this. We get to this shitty looking warehouse. And he's like, alright, you take the first shot, gringo. I take the first shot, then he drinks, and then I drink. Now, one thing that you guys might have never experienced is drinking for your life. As in, if you stop drinking, you will die. Or get sold into sex slavery or sold into death. And I really didn't know which was worse. I was like, get murdered or get raped by Mexicans. I was really on the fence on which one I would have asked for if I lost. So I'll drink and drink and drink. And we make it through about 2 bottles of tequila, 1 bottle of this clear liquid, which I have no idea what it was, tasted like gasoline, and then another bottle of this brownish liquid that they told me was rum. It wasn't rum. I don't know what it was. It wasn't rum. I am gone. Like, you have no idea what gone is until you've gone through that level of drinking. Fortunately, other guy that I'm drinking against is also gone. And as much as I am of value to them, 3 of them know me by name, 2 of them know me because we were hanging out, and the rest of them are just really impressed because, holy fuck, this kid can drink. On top of that, I might be exaggerating by how much I was worth. For all I know, he had only lost by 20 bucks. I like to imagine he owed a bunch of money, but if I know, dude. I never got those kind of details. I want to get the fuck out of there. So, finally, we're at our last shots, dude. Like, we're pouring in the shots. And then finally, I take my shot. And then he takes his shot. And he's like, no more. Falls out of his chair. I take the bottle, because this is my chance to win it all. I take the bottle, slam it, throw it onto the ground, because I felt like such a boss. I'm like, am I good to go? and nobody told me no, so I just kind of got up, I stumbled out, fell 5 times on my way out of that door, and then just kind of wandered out into the street, fell asleep on the street, woke up the next morning, found Abel's punk ass, again, Abel, fuck you, and went home. That was the first time that I had a bad time in Mexico, and after that, I swore I was never going to go back to Mexico. But before I continue on with my story, we have to remember this is Getting Drunk with Dee Dee, and I've currently only had 1 beer plus all the shots I've had beforehand, so take a moment. Caliber, my drink of preference, as you can clearly tell. Let's take a shot. By the way, I don't condone drinking. If you are under the age of 21, don't drink. I'm saying that purely out of legal reasons. Let's not look into my personal history. Do as I say, not as I do. Second of all, if you do want to take up drinking, don't start with Caliber. Took me quite a while to get used to this stuff. Boom! Right! Kiss! Cut! Now on to the second reason. Well, one of the many reasons I don't want to go to Mexico, but the reason I'm going to bring up in this video. Second reason I don't ever want to go back to Mexico. Donkey shows are real, and they are way more terrifying than what you imagine. Well, from my experience. Again, some people have gone to donkey shows like, oh, hey, look, that chick got by a donkey. Big whoop-de-doo. It happens all over the place, all over the time. That was not my experience. What happened for me is, we go to Mexico. Again, fast forwarding into the future, I'd forgiven Abel for selling me to gangsters because I got out of it, and I'm not a guy to hold a grudge. Admittedly, you should. Don't take my advice on this. Do not be the guy to forgive the guy who sold you to gangsters. But I don't make good life decisions. So, we fast forward, I'm back in Mexico. Again, terrible idea. Go to Mexico with a good buddy, someone who has your best interests at heart and who isn't going to do things that are terrifying and terrible simply so they can laugh. But that isn't what I did. Go to Mexico. We're driving to Mexico, and actually we're having a good time this time. Like, we've been there for a solid 8 hours. So far I hadn't been shot at, set on fire, punched in the face, or accused of stealing drugs. So I'm like, oh, sweet, dude. This is going to be a fun time in Mexico. We're driving down, and I see the theater house, and in big Spanish words it says something. I really should learn Spanish. I'm not going to, but I should. And it says big Spanish words, and then in smaller wording underneath it says donkey show in English. I'm like, hey, dude, was that a donkey show back there? And he says, yeah, probably. I'm like, do you want to check it out? And he's like, not really, do you? And I'm like, I don't want to admit it, but yeah. It's like, when am I going to get a chance to see this again in a live person? So it's like, if you want to check it out, dude, we'll go check it out. And then I had to swallow my pride and be the guy that said, yeah, actually, I want to see a bitch get fucked by a donkey. Not proud of it, but I'm sorry. That's something you've got to see. You don't have to see it, though. Trust me, you don't have to see it. But at the time, I have the mentality that most people who haven't seen a woman get violated by a donkey have. Let's go watch that shit go down. So, we turn around, we go there, $12. $12 American, and you can watch a woman get violated by an animal that has a schlong like this. That is what it's like. Walk in, it's like a weird like stage house. It's like 5 big tables, and there's like 5 dudes in the stage house. There's like 5 people in the theater, all of them very elderly. Like the youngest of them was probably 60. All of them, they probably weren't, but in my memory they were all smoking cigars. I can't guarantee they weren't, I can't guarantee they were, I'm just saying in my memory, I just remember all of them smoking cigars. So, we walk in there, and then a spotlight hits the stage, and this very petite, very attractive Mexican lady walks out on stage, starts doing a striptease. And I'm like, oh hey, yeah, look at that, that's something. Alright, I'm not hating this so far. So she does a striptease, she gets totally naked, and then she gets into the receiving position. And then some guy, and it looks like they pulled the guy off the street. Like he was just wearing like a flannel shirt and torn up jeans, and he's got this donkey by a harness, And they bring the donkey out, take the harness off the donkey. Donkey sniffs at her business, and then it mounts her. And I remember because it mounted her, and it like took its hooves and it punched her in the elbows or like in the shoulders and mounted her. And she like buckled a little bit, but she held her position. I was like, all right, well, she looks like she's a champ. She's going to be okay. I assume she's done this before. I don't know if she'd done it before, but from her reaction, I'm going to guess that she hadn't. Because the donkey went ahead, tried to align. Once it found pay dirt, once it found where it was going for, boom! Rocketed into her, launched her up a little bit, and she let out this ear-splitting scream. Like, ear-splitting. It was terrifying. And she started screaming, and the donkey doesn't slow down because it doesn't know human talk. It's like, alright, well, whatever, I'm doing my business. Everybody else is totally fine. Like, yeah, this is what this is supposed to be. Dudes are still just watching. I start screaming. I start freaking the fuck out. So I'm like, ah! 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 And I'm like caught between two levels here. Because on one hand, I want to rush on stage and tear the donkey off of her. On the other hand, I don't want to get in trouble for interrupting the show. So I jump over the table, run outside. I'm crying, still screaming. Abel is slaying right against the building, laughing his ass off. He's like, was it bad? I'm in tears. Just, it was so bad. Oh my God. Why would she do that? Oh, by the way, just so we don't forget, he's like, I don't know, they probably gave her like $5 American. I really hoped he was joking, but I can honestly believe that like someone was like, hey, you want $5 to be on stage for a little bit? And the woman just got pulled in off the street, got devastated. And I don't use the word devastated lightly. That, she probably required reconstruction, because that thing went in there. And I didn't talk for like 2 days. I was just in shock for 2 days. So, in conclusion, Mexico, a terrifying, horrible place. If you are going to go to Mexico, I've heard there's great things there. There's beautiful beaches, cheap drinks, good times to be had. But if you are going to go to Mexico, I have 3 words of advice. First one, learn Spanish. It's really critical. You can agree to anything in English and not even know what you're getting set up for. Second thing, this should have been the first one, but it's not. Get a good Mexico buddy. Find someone who has your best interest at heart. Find someone who's legally binded, so that if you get fucked over in Mexico, they'll get fucked over too, so that they won't do what happened to me. And third thing, just don't go to Mexico. You know, plenty of places on the planet Earth. Go to Brazil. I've heard great things about Brazil. Anyways, this has been Getting Drunk with Dee Dee. I hope you guys had as much fun as I didn't have having it, but as much fun as I had giving the stories. You stay classy and as well as inebriated, planet Internet. Hey there, guys. Thanks for watching my video. Again, I'm always pleased that you watched. Because we're doing a Getting Drunk with Dee Dee, I've got to do this real quick. Boat, right, jet, sky. Pony. Make sure you like and subscribe, and if you would like to hear me rant about some of your stupid or random ideas, I'd be more than happy to. Leave them in the comments. You have a good day.